BBC Radio Berkshire, BB Rexha and Heart Wants What It Wants. So we were just hearing about the difficulty the housing market is presenting at the moment for those who rent. High rents, difficulty getting on the housing ladder if you want to start buying. All sorts of things like that have sparked alternatives when it comes to finding somewhere to live. And here's one I'd never really thought about. Maybe you haven't either. How about renting as a live-in guardian? To explain more, we're joined by Andy now, who has lived in some pretty special places since he took up the idea. Morning, Andy.
Hi, morning.
Morning. What exactly is the deal then, first of all, for a renting live-in guardian?
Well, essentially, guardianship is that we take on sort of old office buildings and stuff like that, and the company itself converts it into temporary accommodation. And essentially then ask people to stay in the properties for a certain period of time. Could be from 3 months to 9 months, sometimes even years. And, you just, you live in it, you make sure that the building's safe and secure. And essentially it's there for the reason to stop squatting in properties.
Oh, yes.
And, from the client's point of view, they don't have to spend thousands of pounds on securing the property. And, you get, from a guardian's point of view, you get to live in London for relatively cheap prices. I mean, London's always going to be expensive, but it's a lot cheaper than normal renting.
So these buildings are on their way to becoming something else, ultimately, are they?
Yeah, sometimes. Most of them are due to be demolished and then converted into, new housing projects or new offices. But it's essentially buildings that are just being left empty and nobody really has any use for them anymore. So, we've the concept's been made so that, we can use them for that period.
Now, if they're just sort of kitting them out temporarily, does that mean you're living in, with very basic stuff? It's not going to be a dream kitchen, for example, I'm guessing.
No. The guardianship itself, like living guardians, they have to meet all compliancy standards, so all HMO standards, so houses of multiple occupancy. So if there's no fire alarm in the building, they'll install one. Right. If there's no kitchen, they'll put in decent kitchens, all from Howdens.
Right.
But it's not like you're going to be walking into a £10,000 flat or something like that. It's the basics to be able to get things going.
And are you generally in a flat on your own? Because you said that, they have to abide by the rules of houses of multiple occupancy. So are you normally sharing with actual flat sharers, or is it just dotted around the building individually?
Well, for myself personally, I've lived in probably around about 4 or 5 properties now with the company, because I've been a guardian for about 10 years.
Yeah.
But my first property with them was a large office on the Thames, and huge floors, which I shared with about 4 people. So large that you could ride your bike around the floors, which was quite fun. But currently, I'm living in a 2-bedroom flat, and it all depends. Loads of people want either big spaces, small spaces. You could live up to 6 people per sort of area and things like that. But, there's so many variations, but yeah.
Right. And do you ever feel that you are like a security guard? I mean, do squatters try to get in? Are you supposed to offer any kind of resistance if there is a problem?
I mean, not really. Essentially, the guardian's just there to sort of be part of the building. I mean, when you sign up to your license, essentially that then means that if someone tries to break in, it's almost like standard, you'll call the police, they would deal with them, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's just sort of being there and occupying, really.
Give us an idea of how much you can save. I mean, I don't know if it's possible, but could you give us an idea of how, if you don't mind,
that's fine.
How much you'll pay for the front? Go on.
Where we're at currently, I mean, the average flat prices in the area that we're at in Colindale are anywhere from, 2,000 up. Excluding bills.
Calendar month.
And we're currently paying around about 600 quid, and that's including all our bills. So there is a massive saving, but it all just depends on where you are. If you want to be in dead centre London, of course, guardianship's going to be more expensive, but the houses or the property that you got there is going to reflect that.
Gosh, I mean, are they very? They must be very picky then about the people that they use as living guardians. You have to go through quite an interview or vetting process to be accepted.
Yeah, I mean, we have to go through all of the checks to make sure that, you know, you're financially secure to be able to do it. The Guardian has to have a DBS check done. You know, and there's also that sort of thing on the first interview, you know, when they're showing you around, you know, making sure that there's nothing dodgy going on. But yeah, there's a bit of paperwork that you have to fill in, but it's a lot easier to do it through guardianship than it would be to go through private rental.
Oh, right. Oh, so a double whammy there then, yeah.
Yeah.
And final thought, what are you doing with all the money that you're not having to spend on rent? Are you squirreling it away so that you can one day buy,
Well,
or will you live like this indefinitely?
My goal was to buy a house for myself, and you know, I've managed to save up a lot of money. I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years now, and I've actually got enough to buy a place. So yeah.
Wow. Oh well, what a happy ending to a happy story.
Exactly.
If people fancy it, it's liveinguardians.com is the place to go, isn't it? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Liveinguardians.com. Andy, I've never thought about this before. I'm so glad we had this chat. Thank you so much. Good luck with the new house. Perhaps we can talk again when you're in. That'd be nice.
No worries. Thank you very much.
BBC Radio Berkshire.